Good morning. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. So excited to see everyone. Lots of people still in the waiting room. So while everyone is logging on, if you guys could just let me know in the chat what type of practitioner or coach you are. I always like to know because it just helps me kind of tailor my examples as we go throughout the workshop. So just let me know in the chat what type of coach, practitioner, or professional you are while we're letting everybody get in the room. Okay, so Victoria, hello. Sports nutrition. Carol is a career coach. Tiffany is an NTP. Chelsea, my sister-in-law, who is here, welcome. Sexual health counselor. Amy is an NTP. Wemi, I hope I said your name right. You're a nutritional therapist. We have an FDMP. Jill, mental health coach. I can't even keep up with this. It's moving so fast. We've got menopause coach, awesome. Nutrition consultant, live blood microspist. Oh my God, I'm not saying that right. Psychosomatic NLP intervention, very cool. Licensed esthetician, holistic nutritionist, adult learning, certified nutritionist, and herbalist. Okay, cool. So I love this. It seems like we have a really nice mix of like coaches and practitioners. Not seeing a ton of professionals. So that's cool. That's always good for me to know. Autoimmune disease, very cool. Heather's a massage therapist who realized massage therapy didn't transfer well into online coaching. Oh, and you took my HTMA course. Awesome. Welcome. Amazing. Okay. Still a few people, letting a few people in. Lots of you guys on this morning. This is awesome. But I don't want to waste too much time with introductions because we have a ton of crap to cover today. Good crap. Ton of good crap to cover today. So before we get started, there is a workbook for any of you who like workbooks to go along with this. I'm just going to get Kim, my assistant, who's on with us right now. She's just here to make sure everything goes smoothly. And, if you have any tech issues, you can just tag Kim. She's just going to pop the workbook link into the chat, and it's a downloadable, fillable PDF. So you can use that to work through the workshop today if you want to. But you can also just go with old school notes. Okay, cool. Awesome. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate that. All right. So you are here today, right? Because you want to learn how to make a killer group offer that hopefully helps you get to a six-figure a year income. Chris, we just started. You are not late. Okay. And so if that's you, let's just make sure we're all on the same page. Just give me a little me in the chat. I just want to see that is why we're here. Thank you. Love to see that wave of me's in there. That's amazing. Okay. So today's agenda, I'm just going to quickly share my screen here. I've got a million windows open, but let's just quickly go over the agenda of what we're going to cover today. Okay, so this is the group program Builders Lab. And what we are covering today is, oops, there we go. We're going to go through your profitable program topic. We're going to cover your unique methodology, which is honestly the most exciting part of this workshop. We're going to talk about ideal program length. We're going to talk about money-making price point, and I'm going to give you a very awesome and helpful tool that you can use to help price your offers for this program and any offers moving forward. And then we're going to talk about personalized support features. Okay. And again, make sure to download the workbook if you're a workbook person. You can just grab that in the chat. Kim posted it in there. You might just have to scroll up on the chat a bit. Or if you just came late, you can just ask for it again and Kim will post it again. Okay, cool. So that is what we are going to cover today. Okay, awesome. All right. So it wasn't that long ago that I was actually exactly where you are right now. Okay. So I graduated from a health coaching certification back in 2013 and I came out like guns a-blazing. I was like ready to heal the world. And I was so passionate about helping people. And I thought I had everything I needed to succeed. And I did not. So I think in a lot of programs, we're sold the dream that health coaching or, whatever the certification or diploma, degree, whatever, we're kind of taught that is everything we need to be successful in our field and possibly have a successful business. And it's not correct. Okay. So me personally, I was so wildly unprepared, did not even know it. Okay. I spent months building a website thinking that once I launched it, I would get clients. Launched it. Really pretty website, by the way. Nothing happened. And that was very stressful. because I didn't have any business experience. So I think like a lot of us, we come from other backgrounds. Like we don't have marketing and sales backgrounds, right? I worked in forestry, I fought wildfires, I planted trees, I designed cut blocks for logging operations. And basically what I would do, work my ass off for 5 months out of the year, and then I would get laid off and I would spend the winter pursuing my dreams to be a professional skier. I wanted to be in movies and magazines and get paid to travel the world. I had this, kind of big vision of what my life was going to look like. But that was all going great until the end of 2011, jumped off a cliff willingly, okay? Seriously injured my knee, and I ended up needing reconstructive surgery. So, in an instant, these dreams to become a professional skier were over. And I was actually unable to go to work too, because forestry, I'm hiking through the mountains all day, right? You actually need a knee for that. So, I ended up on medical unemployment for over a year. I had to get reconstructive surgery. Unfortunately, that surgery ended up triggering what turned out to be a 7-year battle with debilitating chronic fatigue and insomnia. I was unable to go back to work, pro skiing not happening, and it was a pretty dark time in my life. Okay. And I think a lot of us have had this experience. A lot of us get into the health and wellness, personal development, mental health fields because we have our own struggle, right? So I went to doctor after doctor, no answers, no idea what was happening to me, but I did know that I needed a new career and I needed to heal myself. Okay. So had a lot of time on my hands. So I started obsessively researching natural health, eventually stumbled upon functional health coaching, figured I can get trained to be a health coach and maybe I could heal myself too, right? So unfortunately, background in forestry and skiing didn't exactly set me up for success online. And then neither did that certification program that I did. Okay. I spent a very long time with zero clients, but I persisted. Okay. And when I did finally start to increase my clientele, I'm very stubborn. I stuck with it. But when I started to kind of figure it out, I found myself working all day long. I had back-to-back client sessions. And when I had extra time, I was prepping for the next workshop or trying to market myself online. And so basically what I did was I traded my 50-hour a week forestry job for a 50-hour a week computer job. The difference was I wasn't getting 7 months off a year to ski. I was actually making less money. I was lucky to maybe be clearing like $2,000 a month. I was exhausted. Okay. And when I finally learned about online programs and learned how to successfully make one, market it, and sell it, I just want to quickly show you what happened. Okay. Let me just pull up my screen again here. Okay. So this was my schedule. This is my schedule back when I first started my business. If you guys are doing one-on-one and you're doing a lot of it, you might resonate with this, right? This is just client appointments, like back to back, 5 days a week. Okay. That's what I was doing. Fun at first for the first like few months, maybe like up to a year. And then I was just like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted, just like barely time to eat, barely time to like take a poop. I'm like, how do people live like this? Right. And then when I learned about online programs, this is what happened to my schedule the following year. So I was able to take on less one-on-one clients and get all my clients' appointment into just 2 days a week, freeing up like 3 different days in my schedule where I could actually work on other things in my business, move the business forward, and maybe like go for a walk in the forest or something like that, right? And then the following year, when I figured out how to do group coaching programs, this is what my schedule looks like. This is actually my schedule from like 2 weeks ago. Okay. And obviously, this isn't the only time I work. This is my group coaching call with my students. And then there's a team meeting in there. That's really all that's on my schedule most days, unless I, do something else like some sort of workshop or something like that. Obviously, I'm still working, but I have this flexibility and freedom in your calendar. I think that's what a lot of us want. We want the freedom to like, maybe today, like, the other day I was like, oh, it's snowing. I'm going to go skiing in the morning and I'm going to work in the afternoon. That's what we're looking for. We want that flexibility. And that's what coaching programs can give you. Okay. But what's really interesting about this is simultaneously as my schedule went from that kind of mess on the top left to the dream on the bottom right, this is what happened with my income. So this is my income in 2017. I generated just under 11,000 US for an entire year. So poverty level income, really struggling, doing a whole bunch of side hustle things, like anything I could do to try to like make a little bit of money on the side. Okay. And then when I learned about online programs, I was able to in 1 year, go from just over 10,000 US to 90,000 US in just 1 year. And then the following year with group coaching programs, I was able to go from 90,000 US to just under 250,000 US in a year. Okay. Now I want to show you something else. And again, this is not to brag. It's really important that you understand what is possible. Now, this is not something that's going to happen overnight. It did not happen overnight for me, but this is just my intention is to inspire you. Okay. My 2024 year-end income statement, very surprising because I spent most of 2024 pregnant and then with a newborn. I managed to generate $904,000 in a year with only two group coaching programs. Okay. And a lot of people who make this kind of money have really low profit margins, but my gross profit stood at just over 702,000. Okay. This is what is possible with group coaching programs. And I was not a happy pregnant lady. I was very miserable, very, very miserable, very angry, felt like crap, didn't work a lot. And then was on mat leave for 4 months. So this is just what is possible when you have group coaching programs. And during this time, my students still very supported, still very happy. So just showing you what is possible if you follow this path and you stick with it. Okay. Just keep in mind, full transparency. This is my 10th year in business, or maybe 11th, not even sure. Okay. Okay. So now that we kind of have that, hopefully you feel a little bit inspired. Let's start to dive into kind of the meat and potatoes of what I want to talk about today. So let's jump in. Okay. Again, I'm going to move quickly because there's a lot I want to cover, but don't worry, I'm going to send you out the replay later today so you can rewatch it and you're going to have lots of time to do that. Okay. So, just sit back, relax, drink your tea, coffee, whatever, take notes and know that you can always come back and rewatch. Okay. So I want to start with the profitable program topic. Okay. Now, the reason I was working 50 plus hours a week when I started my business is because I was doing what I was taught to do in my holistic nutrition diploma, which was to charge hourly. Okay. I was charging $100 an hour. And honestly, I was like, well, this is kind of awesome, right? Because I was making like $25 an hour in my forestry job. So I was like, yeah, I'm like giving myself a big raise. But unfortunately, when you're trading time for money, I think this is a very outdated business model. And I actually don't think it works for client or practitioner. A lot of us were taught to do this in our professional training, or maybe we just are doing this because that's how we've seen alternative health services offered, right? So when I was trading time for money, I was working with all different types of clients with all different health issues, acne, fatigue, MS, hypothyroidism, migraines, hormonal issues, like you name it, they were coming to me. And the problem was it was impossible to feel like an expert in every health condition and its nuances, right? And so this is why I was spending a ton of time, my weekends and evenings, just researching a dozen different health conditions. I was like deep in PubMed, but it was really impossible to know everything. So I ended up knowing a little about a lot of different things, and it really messed with my confidence, right? I really just never knew what my clients were going to ask me, and I just never had a good answer for them because they were asking me like so many different things. Okay. On top of that, maybe like a lot of you, I wanted to feel deeply connected to my clients, right? I was invested in their success, but most of them were only booking with me once and then sometimes never again. And then if they did come back, it was like 6 months later. And I was like, who are you? I don't remember. Right. So when I got busier, it was really hard for me to keep everyone straight, right? I was spending a lot of time reviewing client notes so I could get up to speed on their case. I was researching their unique problems. I was providing them with specialized recommendations, was not seeing a lot of client success. Okay. Because we all know health, mental health, personal development, these sorts of things, they require constant, dedicated action over time. People are not going to experience a massive transformation in just 1 or 2 sessions, right? So after I realized charging hourly was not the ticket, I started selling packages. This helped my schedule, right? I didn't need to have as many clients, but also problematic because I needed to be well-versed on so many different health problems, right? I wanted freedom, but I did not want to compromise client results. Who feels that way? Let me know. Just give me a yes or a heck yeah in the chat. If you feel like, yes, I want freedom, like I want the group program, but I really want to make sure my clients are still getting results. Yeah, right? Because all of us have integrity, right? So obviously money and freedom are top priority. So are client results, right? So I didn't want to make money and achieve freedom at the expense of my client success, right? But when you build an online group program, you can actually achieve that. But in order to do this, we have to talk about niching. I can't not talk about niching, okay? Nobody taught me about a niche in any of my health certifications. I was out there selling functional nutrition, and it seemed like no one wanted it. because they didn't know what the heck it was, right? I was using all these fancy terms that I was taught in my training, like, oh, I teach you a model of self-care, and oh, I'll help you identify healing opportunities, and I'll get you to the root cause. And really, it meant nothing to anyone except the coaches I did my certification with, right? So I was out there selling kind of general functional nutrition services. And essentially, what I was trying to do was sell Amazon or build Amazon in reverse. Okay. So we all know Amazon basically sells everything, right? And they're a very successful business. And maybe that makes us think it's okay to sell general services. But I want you to remember that this is not how Amazon started out. Does anyone remember what Amazon first started selling? Like when they first came out?
Books.
Yes. But deeper than that. It wasn't just books.
Textbooks.
Oh, somebody is unmuted. Um, Unused or used books, not unused books, used books. They actually started selling used books, and that's basically what they were doing. This is very niched, okay? Very, very niched. So, um, it was very specific what they sold, and then they branched out over time. Okay. And that's really how we have to build a business is we have to, especially these days, like I don't think it's any secret that the online world is quite saturated, right? There's a lot of people online. The way that we can get around that is to micro niche. Okay. So the difference between having a niche versus not having a niche is the difference between being a specialist versus a generalist, right? Who gets paid more? Specialist, right? Who gets referred more? Specialist. Who's more sought after? Specialist, right? So after I injured my knee back in 2012 or 2011, I needed reconstructive ACL surgery. My knees are very critical to my lifestyle and happiness, right? I wanted to make sure I see it again without issue or pain. I could have gone to the local hospital to get surgery by the general surgeon. He performed a bunch of different surgeries, but I didn't. Okay. I drove 5 hours away to see a surgeon who specialized in ACL reconstruction for athletes. Okay. Now I live in Canada, so it actually didn't cost me money. But if I had to pay for that, I would have paid a premium to get that surgery. And honestly, I would have been more than happy to pay it. I would have figured out how to pay it because that is how valuable my knees were to me. I had a very painful problem. Okay. So this is why I struggled so hard to find clients when I first started out because I was selling functional nutrition. There's not really a market for functional nutrition because a lot of people don't know what it is. And nobody's lying awake at night saying, oh crap, I just need more functional nutrition. They're not thinking that, right? There's no market for health coaching, sex therapy, naturopathy, functional medicine, nutritional therapy, personal development, NTP, right? Dietitian services. But there is a market for solutions to very painful problems. Okay. So having a profitable program means you need to solve a very specific and profitable problem. And it needs to be one problem. Now I'm going to show you something. This is not mathematically correct, but hopefully it'll get the point across. Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay. So this is what I call the profitability graph when it comes to painful problems. I'm just going to get my cursor out here. Okay. So the profit zone is in that pink, and Canva is being weird right now and it's not letting me get my cursor out. So let me see. We'll go over here. Here we go. Okay. Profit zone. This is the profit zone. So in order for a problem to be profitable, and what we need is something that is chronic versus intermittent and something that is severe versus mild. Okay. So if we're thinking like about something like a tension headache, right? It's like, oh yeah, every now and then I get a headache. Well, that's kind of intermittent and maybe it's mild, maybe it gets to moderate, but like really, I could just take an Advil. Let's take a fucking Advil, right? So people aren't going to pay for that. They might just go book one session with a naturopath and, get some magnesium and like whatever and go home and then to pop another Advil, right? But if we're thinking about migraine headaches, that's different, right? This is something that's chronic, severe. Chronic meaning that it's happening on a regular basis. It is interfering with someone's life and it's severe, like it's painful, right? So we want to get up in this zone. Now, the other thing I had to add in here, and this is why this isn't necessarily, mathematically correct, this graph, but there has to be high awareness, okay? Meaning that the person needs to identify with that problem and actually think they have that problem. Okay. I'll give you an example. So some people I work with are like, oh, well, I want to help people with blood sugar imbalance. So you're like, yeah, most people aren't out there trying to solve their blood sugar imbalance. What are they actually trying to solve? Well, they might be trying to solve fatigue. They might be trying to solve, resistant weight loss, or they might be trying to solve, getting a prediabetes diagnosis or something like that, or getting diagnosed with diabetes, right? So we can't go after root cause. Root cause gets solved in your your program, but I'm talking about front-facing marketing. We got to speak people's language. So what is the problem that they think or know they have? They either need to have that problem or they need to think it and they need to be out there Googling, right? They need to be Googling, right? Because if they're not Googling like, oh, how do I solve leaky gut? They're not looking for that. They're saying, how do I stop shitting my pants at work every day, right? Like, what are they actually searching for online? Okay. Chronic, severe, high awareness. That's what the problem needs to fit into. Okay. So your niche essentially is your area of specialization, and that's going to be the big painful problem. Okay. And honestly, I'll be really honest. The easiest path to choose is a problem that you've personally struggled with, right? Because it gives you unique perspective that other people who haven't struggled with don't have. Now, it's not mandatory because I know there are perimenopause experts out there who are men who are very successful. It's not mandatory, but it will make things easier. Your story, your personal experience, like people really connect with that, right? You probably connect with the story I've told you a little bit about my experience. You're like, yeah, that's me. I've had those thoughts. I've been there, right? So again, not mandatory, but very helpful, shall we say? Okay. Okay. All right. So again, just to summarize the profitable problem, severe, chronic, they think or know they have it. There's awareness, and preferably it's a problem that you've personally struggled with. Okay. And you can speak to your experience because a lot of people just want to work with people they connect with and people who like maybe understand what they've been through, right? Like when I was a health coach, I eventually started helping women in their 30s, active women in their 30s with chronic fatigue, because that's exactly what I was going through at the time. Okay. 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 So now, in today's day and age, where we have a really busy online world, it's not enough to just say, I help people with fatigue or something like that, right? We actually have to define the person. And the reason we need to do that is because, again, we can speak to their day-to-day experience. Because, as an example, let's say a person in college age kids struggling with fatigue and a senior struggling with fatigue, very different life experiences, very different day to day, very different goals in terms of why they want to solve their fatigue. Okay. So when we communicate with people online, we need to be able to speak to what I call the human identity. Okay. So you need to think about, okay, so if I'm going to solve, a specific painful problem, let's say acne, great. Painful problem, chronic cystic acne, great. But like, who are these people? Because if we just say people, we're speaking to everyone from, age 18 to 118, men, women, teachers, yoga instructors, like new moms, single moms, like all of that stuff, right? So what we want to do, and this is very, very important, is we need to narrow down the human identity. Okay. And we want to pick the things that people actually identify as. So, just being like, oh, health-minded people. Well, we kind of all want health-minded people, but we're thinking about like something that actually impacts how someone lives their life day to day. Okay. Divorcee versus new mom, a toddler dad versus a working mom, a yogi versus an empty nester, teacher versus, an athlete, right? So we're trying to think about something that will actually really impact their day to day. And when they see it, they say, yes, that's me. Okay. So these are the two main things that we need to bring together: the profitable problem, the big painful problem, and the human identity, to ultimately come up with a topic for our program. Okay. Which is going to be the program promise. And this is your template. Okay. My program shows type of person, how to solve chronic and severe problem. And remember the one that they also have awareness around. Okay. That's what your program is going to do. And this is different than a course, right? Course just gives information. A program, a group program, any type of program really, is helping people actually solve a problem. Okay. Feel free to take a screenshot of this if you want to. Okay. I'm just going to get a glass of water here. Okay. Questions. Let's open up the chat here. So Sonica, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat here. Okay. Spiritually inclined people, maybe, but I would say like, is there a specific spirituality that they are following? Because spiritually inclined isn't really a word that I don't think people would use to describe themselves. Like, I'm a spiritually inclined person. Like, what does that mean? Like, spiritually how? Because spirituality can mean a very like it can mean a lot of different things. People define spirituality very different. So we want something that is very objective, something that is like, oh yeah, that's yes, yes or no. It should be a quick like that's me, that's not me. Versus spiritually inclined, I'd be like, well, is it like you're talking to like Christians? Like, is this just like people who like to meditate? Like, I don't know. Right? Because anytime people should be able to make that decision. Yes, that's me. No, that's not me. Like literally in a few seconds. Okay. Okay. Someone who is interested in energy work. So I would say, like, Sonika, are you like an energy healer? Because if that's like how you help people, that's going to be the method inside your program. And you're going to want to go after a specific type of person with a specific type of problem. Okay. Okay. So yeah, we're going to cover our programs always interaction are always live, not always. Would I use an age range instead of peri and menopausal women? I don't love age range because it doesn't necessarily impact how people live their lives because, a woman in their 30s could be single, could be divorced, could have 5 kids, could, there it's we so age range doesn't really define a person's day to day. Okay. Yeah, so as an esthetician and focusing on individuals struggling with acute or chronic acne, I'm taught that one-on-one approach treatment in virtual sessions. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, chronic acne, very profitable problem. Yeah, so energy healers can help with all health problems, but so can health coaches, so can like a lot of what we do can help everyone. So the goal is to pick like what is the problem, okay? And so maybe it's a problem that you've struggled with personally that energy healing can help. Like maybe it's something like anxiety, maybe it's something like depression, maybe it's something like feeling lost in life or something like that, right? We have to go after the very painful problem, but what you do as an energy healer is ultimately in the method inside your program. Okay? Cool. Okay. Yeah, so I would say I'm going to answer one more here and then we're going to keep on rolling. I help empty nester women, great. And the get off the yo-yo dieting cycle. Yeah, but what's the problem? It's they don't want to just get off the yo-yo dieting cycle. Like it's probably more about like weight loss or body composition or something like that, right? Like what like why do they want to get off? Like why are they yo-yo dieting in the first place? Okay? Okay. All right. Cool. Okay, I'm going to jump back into it because we still have a lot of stuff to go through. We can do some more Q&A at the end. Okay, so this is very exciting. I'm very excited about step 2 of this workshop. Okay, so I started my business because I never wanted anything to do with a corporate 9 to 5 schedule, right? This is why I've never had a normal job. I literally have never had a normal job. So prior to starting my business, right, I worked in forestry. It wasn't year round. And it's because the every day of the week work week, like 5 day a week work week, like disgusted me. I thought it was BS. So starting a business seemed like a ticket to freedom and creating my own schedule. But when I followed the charging hourly business model, freedom's not what I got, right? I had those back-to-back sessions, and I had to work a part-time job because I wasn't making enough money and it was all very stressful. And I felt like I was literally chained to my computer, just not enough time. I was just exhausted. Okay. I would have no energy for anything, right? Because and I just want to say something. You can both love and appreciate your one-on-one clients and deeply care about them and still be exhausted and overwhelmed. Okay. I just want to say those things can exist simultaneously because, I felt really guilty. I was like, I love my one-on-one clients, but I'm exhausted. And that made me feel really guilty. So I just want to say, like, you can feel both. You can love your clients, care about them, but also be burnt out and exhausted. Okay. Yeah, Kayla says that's me dealing with the guilt. Yeah. Don't feel guilty. It's totally valid what you're feeling. Okay. So on top of these one-on-one sessions, I was answering client emails, creating plans, protocols, everything I wasn't getting paid for. And that's why I was working like 60 hours a week to barely clear 2K a month. Okay. And I didn't like how things were going. So I enrolled in another certification program thinking that would give me the business knowledge I was lacking, but it didn't. But one thing they did tell me was to sell packages, right? So that did free up more time in my schedule because I was charging more money and working with people for longer, but it didn't give me the freedom, right? Because I was still stuck behind the scenes creating endless protocols, researching all the things. I was still maxed. Okay. And I was making more money, but I still wasn't clearing barely 4K a month. Okay. I did not know how to have freedom in my schedule, and I did not know how to not be chained to my laptop. Okay. But as I worked with lots of clients, I noticed some things. Okay. I was getting asked the same questions all the time, whether it was in session or an email. I was repeating myself over and over again. And I found myself reteaching the same thing over and over again. Does anyone feel like sometimes in their one-on-ones, they're just saying the same thing over and over and over again? Let me know. Because when you're repeating yourself that much, I just want to say that's also exhausting. It's also exhausting. Okay. So what I did was I created a bunch of videos for my clients that answered the most frequently asked questions. Okay. This helped reduce the questions I was answering in emails because I could direct people to videos. Angelica says, Lord, yes. Next, I decided I could be more strategic in the way I ordered those videos because some questions were super common at the beginning and some were more common at the end. But I struggled in creating that still because I was still working with all different types of people, right? Different pain points, different goals. So this is where I finally started to niche, right? I decided to narrow down my focus to the most common type of person I was seeing. Okay. And so what I started with was women in their 30s with hormonal imbalance. Okay. Keep in mind, this was a long time ago. I could do women in their 30s with hormonal imbalance. These days, I would actually make you niche further. Okay. But funny enough, a few years earlier, I tried to launch this do-it-yourself course on hormones that had been really unsuccessful. So I'd given up on that course. It was sitting in Dropbox, collecting dust, but I realized I could put it to good use. So I started having every one of my clients go through that course when they signed up to work with me. And then I built sessions around it. Okay. And then I started to realize within that course, because it was just sort of an informational course, which these days isn't going to be very successful because of AI and Google. Like all the information is available online. But what I actually started to create was a method. Okay. And so, like, okay, well, you need to do this first and then this and then this and then this, right? Because sometimes we need to do things in very specific order. So I created something I called the hormone reset method, which showed women in their 30s how to ditch haywire hormones so they could regain their energy, lose weight, and have seamless periods. Okay. So essentially, every client I worked with went through those modules and I created that methodology and I showed them how to move from painful problem to the solution they desired. And when I did this, I greatly reduced my workloads. I could take on more clients, I could charge more. And the cool thing was clients were able to learn from me and basically consume the method when they weren't in session with me, right? So I stopped being the linchpin in their success, okay? I eventually trademarked the methodology. Now, originally this was a one-on-one program, okay? And that's actually what allowed me to skyrocket my income 9 times from 10K to 90K a year. But what allowed me to get to the multiple six figures was using the same framework, creating a step-by-step methodology, but then building a group program around it rather than one-on-one. Okay. So in 2018, I decided to make a shift from helping women with hormonal imbalance to active women in their 30s with fatigue. And I launched my first group program. It was called High on Energy. We'll never forget that group program launch. I was very nervous, but I did manage to make 7,000 in 10 days, which at the time was like slam dunk, right? I mean, it was life-changing, okay? So this is how it works. Okay, so you have your specific niche, the one that we just created, okay? And we're going to build all our